And welcome to Hannity. Tonight, in the wake of the deadly terrorist attacks in Brussels, Donald Trump and Senator Ted Cruz are calling on America to get much tougher in the fight against radical Islam. The Democrats, on the other hand, well, they'd rather be politically correct. Here's what Donald Trump said last night right here on this program.
The problem is we don't fight on the same level. We have laws that protect everybody. You know, you can't do this, you can't do that. Don't touch them, don't hurt them, please. In the meantime, they go around killing people. They have no laws. We have the laws to protect them. It's absolutely crazy.
I agree with you that we should use advanced enhancement interrogation techniques on him.
Beyond waterboarding. Beyond waterboarding.
Explain.
All right. So you catch the guy last week, and it looks like retaliation for his capture. If they would have put him through the grill 10 minutes after they capture him, he probably would have ratted him out and maybe stopped this horrible terror attack that took place today.
Now, Senator Cruz has also strongly condemned the terrorist attacks in Brussels and yesterday put out this statement saying, quote, that we need to empower law enforcement to patrol and secure Muslim neighborhoods before they become radicalized. And earlier today, Senator Cruz doubled down on his remarks. Take a look.
You know, it has been interesting in the last 24 hours when I called for proactive policing directed at radical Islamic terrorism. The reaction from Democrats, Mayor de Blasio here in New York held a press conference blasting me, attacking me. It's an example where Democrats are more concerned about political correctness than they are about keeping us safe, and that's why people are so fed up. We need a commander-in-chief whose priority is keeping the American people safe, and that's what I'll do.
Now, true to form, Democrats like President Obama and Hillary Clinton, they are ignoring the real threat that is posed by radical Islamists, and instead they're attacking Republicans. Take a look at this.
I hear somebody saying we should carpet bomb Iraq or Syria. Not only is that inhumane, not only is that contrary to our values, but that would likely be an extraordinary mechanism for ISIL to recruit more people willing to die and explode bombs in an airport. As far as the notion of having surveillance of neighborhoods where Muslims are present, I just left a country that engages in that kind of neighborhood surveillance. The notion that we would start down that slippery slope makes absolutely no sense.
What Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and others are suggesting is not only wrong, it's dangerous.
All right, here with reaction, author of the New York Times bestseller Duplicity, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, you know, this is very interesting. I think this is a very key moment because Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are saying, we've got to keep the borders open. They're also saying we can't use enhanced interrogation. We have Abdullah Salam, the guy, the evil mastermind in Paris. He's in jail. He probably knows where terrorist cells are, not only in Belgium, but all across Europe, and yet we won't use enhanced interrogation attacks. Seems to me the American people have a choice on a very important issue of our time. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, I think that the seriousness of the threat becomes more obvious every month. You have bombings in Paris, you have bombings in Brussels, you have knifings in California recently. You had 14 Americans killed in California a few weeks ago. I mean, go down the list and ask yourself, how many times do we have to see this in how many countries? Which includes, by the way, Mali, where there have been several attacks recently, includes parts of West Africa where there have been several attacks, includes Turkey. I mean, how often does this have to happen for our leaders to realize that we are at war, that the other side is currently winning, they are recruiting faster than we are killing them, and that all the rules of the game right now are peacetime criminal justice rules of the game, and they're not going to work. You're going to have to move towards a much more wartime footing of very serious surveillance. There's nothing wrong with saying that we can identify people who are dangerous, and when we do, we should track them and find out what they're doing and monitor them. I would recommend people go back and look at the period about 1938 to 1942 and look at the steps that were taken by the United States under a Democrat with a Democratic Congress to protect America. They took some very tough steps.
Let me juxtapose, I mean, with the carnage we saw yesterday and hundreds injured and 34 plus killed, I want to juxtapose that with the president. Now, after getting lectured by the murdering dictator thug Raul Castro about how we ought to improve America, then the president gave 51 seconds. That was all he devoted to the attacks in Brussels. And then he goes to a baseball game. While we're all viewing the carnage, there's the president of the United States next to a murdering dictator, drinking beer and doing the wave. Watch this. And then the president won't even acknowledge radical Islamic terrorism. He said they're the JV team and they're contained. He was wrong on all counts. And now we can't use enhanced interrogation for the guy that they have in custody. How does he justify this? What is wrong that he's friends with all of the wrong people and alienates the right people like our friends in Israel?
Look, as you said
I'm glad
back
I
in
make
2000,
you laugh. Okay, go ahead, laugh at me again.
I mean, I'm not laughing at you. I think it's. I don't want to cry, and laughter is the second best choice. I mean, you warned in 2008. You were the one person who consistently talked about Bill Ayers. You talked about what was happening in terms of radicalism in Chicago. You raised the issues of who Obama really was, and you are probably you're the only person I know who's a major figure who absolutely got it right. So Obama is a radical left, in many ways the first anti-American president. I mean, you go out and you watch him and you think, you know, how can you stand in front of a mural of Che Guevara, who was a murdering thug, who was viciously anti-American? How can you be seen at a ball game with a dictator who, by the way, was arresting people while Obama was arriving? I mean, the dictatorship in Cuba has done nothing to accommodate the United States, just as the North Koreans do nothing, just as the Iranians do nothing. All of them treat Obama with contempt, and it's because he earns it. He behaves in ways that are weak, and he allows them to take advantage of him, and I think that's just a fact. Now, the question is, do we follow Obama with somebody who is equally susceptible to weakness and confusion? Hillary Clinton, who last night after the Brussels bombing said we shouldn't really be afraid. I mean, is she just out of touch? You know, I know she said Secret Service since 1992, but the fact is the rest of us don't have Secret Service, and we have every reason to be afraid.
You know, I use this analogy, and again, I'll go back to Abdullah Salam. Here's a guy, mastermind, killed 134 people in Paris. They have him in custody. This attack was in retaliation to his arrest. And the analogy that I'm using is simple. If 3 kidnappers come into your home and they take your 2 children and they throw them in the back of the van and you run out of the house and you tackle one of the guys, but the other 2 get away with your kids, and you have the guy on the ground, what methods would you use to extract the information as to the location of your children? Now, I'm going to be perfectly blunt. There's nothing I would stop at to get that information quickly, very quickly, whatever it took. If I had to spend the rest of my life in jail, I'm willing to do that. We're talking about the potential of thousands and thousands of people being killed by these cells, and yet they find it offensive that we would ask tough questions in a way that's uncomfortable for them.
Look, Bill Clinton and I created the Hart-Rudman Commission. I served on it after I stepped down as Speaker. It said, after 3 years of study, in March of 2001, before 9/11, it said, the greatest threat to the United States is a weapon of mass destruction going off in an American city, probably by a terrorist group. Nothing that's happened since then has reduced that threat. And that's what people need to realize. Hillary Clinton isn't talking about 1 or 2 people setting off 1 or 2 bombs. She doesn't understand these are people who want to get nuclear weapons. These are people who want to get chemical and biological weapons. These are people who would love to kill thousands and thousands of Americans. And to take it lightly, to tell us not to be afraid, is delusional. I mean, you have to ask what planet these people live on, because it certainly is not Earth.
Yeah, you know, I actually, just to come full circle on my take on Obama, and I was criticized a lot, and I was even told by very close friends of mine that I was putting my career in jeopardy by going so hard on Obama's radicalism. I really was. People who you would know. And my conclusion now is he is a Frank Marshall Davis, acorn, Alinskyite disciple that grew up in the Church of G.D. America and Reverend Wright, and who started his political career in the home of unrepentant terrorist Ayers and Dorn, and that is in his indoctrination. He has never had a sister soldier moment. You were there when Bill Clinton said the era of big government is over, the end of welfare as we known it. Can you name one instance that Obama has gone against his radical indoctrination? I can't think of one.
Well, to show you the contrast, by the way, Bill Clinton yesterday said all of the migrants in Europe are a major problem. Now, he's the first Democrat I've seen who's admitted that that all of these people coming in from Syria, all these people living in Malbec, all these people living in the neighborhoods in Paris, you know, this is a huge crisis for European civilization, and they're going to have to come to grips with it. The Belgians, by the way, I think they've now changed the rule, but as recently as last year, the Belgians had a rule that you could not have a police raid after 9 o'clock at night until the next morning because it would be inconvenient to the people in the house.